restaurant guy that Jessica said, we're going to start a restaurant here, and I don't know anything about bookkeeping. Well, I better make sure that I have competent help and accountants and people like that to set up my bookkeeping system. You don't want to just have your spouse do it because it's cheaper to do it that way. A lot of small businesses, and this is a word of caution for all of us. There's many, many small businesses that they just want to go into their own business for lots of reasons, but they didn't do a business plan. They had an idea. A restaurant. The husband and the wife been grilling out and having big backyard parties for years, and they love it, and they say, let's just start our own restaurant. So they find a way to do it. And hey, I'm the first one to say this is America. If you're willing to work hard enough, but remember this, working hard enough also means to work smart. And once you start, don't wait until you can't pay your bills and you miss something. Find competent consulting to help you before you get too far. And the best time to find it before you get too far is before you start. Don't start. Don't risk your money. Don't buy your business license and pay rent on a place that you haven't thought out your plan very carefully. Jessica, I've kind of said a whole lot, and I'm getting kind of wound up on it. Why don't I let you kind of talk about it for a bit?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more because you do need a tribe of really great people around you. People who are willing to be your cheerleaders throughout the process. People are willing to tell you no or, be brutally honest. And people who, like you said, that you respect and who you know are really knowledgeable and who are kind of where you want to be. Make sure to always have people around you that you want to be like them. But another thing that I would tell somebody, especially if they're like a creative type person, maybe they do art or make videos, something like that. A great way to kind of start you off if you feel kind of like you're having problems writing your business plan, I would say that there's nothing wrong with starting off with something simple like a vision board. So just some magazines or some books or things like that, and just cut out pictures and cut out phrases maybe of things, ideas that you have, stuff that maybe you want stuff to kind of look like, colors, things like that. I think that's a really great way to kind of get somebody's mind working a little to go into actually writing the business plan. Now, your vision board is not a replacement for your business plan. It's not at all. But I think it's a really great way to kind of get you started and get your wheels turning a little bit. And some people, they just don't like to write. They don't, not vision board, business plans are just boring to them. So maybe starting out with that vision board will help you. And then, like I said, and like you said earlier, if it's not in your skill set, do not try to do it on your own. And that counts for your business plan. If that's just not something you want to do, if you're not into research, you're not a writer, you're not a reader, you just can't really get yourself to buckle down, get someone to help you. Somebody will be more than happy to sit down and talk with you about your ideas. Because some people, they're really not writers. They're not, they're just not able to do some stuff like that. So if you can get with somebody where you can just talk to them and they can help you actually put it down on paper in a more presentable fashion, that's better than trying to do it on your own and you're just kind of all over the place.
I agree. I agree with that exactly like you said it, but I want to add one thing. I have learned, because I've counseled thousands of people. I'm 67 years old. I've been doing this for 45 years or so. A whole lot of people, they have a dream, but they're not ready for it. And you've got to be honest with yourself. If you won't do your own business plan because you just say, well, I'm not good at that, then learn to be good at that. If you want to give somebody else too much responsibility, then you're not taking it yourself. And when you go into business for yourself, that person that helped you write that business plan, they're not going to be there for you later. I mean, they still may be your friend. You still may have their phone number. But when you go into your own business, the buck stops here. That's the most important thing I want to tell you, is that if you're the kind of person that's not disciplined enough to read and self-educate and learn things that you don't know how to do, you've got to be very, very careful. So there's a fine line here. And when you get with someone like Jessica or myself in a more one-on-one environment, remember this. There are plenty of things that you can delegate and let other people do, but there are plenty of things that you cannot delegate or let other people do. And so at some point, you've got to know which ones are the ones that you have to do yourself to take responsibility for, because a whole lot of people will pat you on the back and tell you how wonderful you are, but when times get hard, they might not be there for you. My mother used to have an incredible expression, and this isn't so much about running your own business, it's about sales. But let me tell you, if you're running a business, no matter what your business is, it's about sales. So, we could have a sales expert come on here, and Jessica could do this, or I could do it also. No matter what business you have, sales is the engine that drives the machine. It's like if you don't have sales, you can have the most beautiful structure. You can have the most beautiful building. You can have all the employees you need. You can have the best resumes on your staff. You can have the best product that you're going to cook and sell. You can have everything. But if you haven't done your market research and you haven't done that part of it properly, and you can't produce the sales to pay your bills, you're going to go out of business. My mother's expression was, whenever you're dealing with people, and I hate to say it this way, but this is kind of like talk is cheap. We all know that. That's pretty direct. Talk is cheap. She used to say, from the lips to the hip is a pretty far distance. Now, if you don't understand it first time through, people say a lot, but when they reach back to their wallet and they take out their wallet and they pull their money out and they put it in your hand to buy what they said that they're going to buy from you, or to invest what they said that they might invest with you, it's a pretty far distance. A lot of people forget what they say. So let me tell you this. If you go into business and you have partners, the one thing that we haven't said out loud yet is make sure that everything you do is legal. You got to start off with your proper business licenses. You do not want to go into business without having proper licenses. And that leads me into one thing I want to say. For those of you that are returning citizens that might be listening to this in a correctional facility somewhere, or if you've been out and you're back in the community, there's one thing that I've learned with some people that learned it the hard way. Based on the nature of your conviction, you may be restricted from certain types of businesses that you can go into. I met a couple guys in a prison 6 years ago, and they had already spent 4 months on getting a business license and everything. They did a business plan. They had everything very well defined. I'll say this, though, their business plan was a lot of pie in the sky and their numbers weren't real. When I challenged their assumptions, they broke down pretty quick. They did not have a good basis for how they projected what their sales were going to be. But that's not the point I'm making right now. The point I'm making is this. These two guys, because of what they had been serving time for, they were not allowed to get into the industry that they wanted to do. And they wanted to have a tow truck business, like a AAA type thing when somebody's car breaks down and they have a tow. And a lot of tow truck companies do repossessions for banks and things. And they had a beautiful business model, although they were pie in the sky with the amount of revenue they thought they could get. But they could not even get into that type of a business because their convictions. In Virginia, we have two things: restrictions to employment for individuals with criminal histories. And the other one is Virginia's barrier crimes laws related to employment. Make sure that you find out before you put too much effort into your idea whether it's something that you can do or not do if you've been convicted of a felony. Make sure that it's not something that you're prohibited from doing. So it might not sound that important, but I'm telling you, it is, because you don't want to waste months of your life planning to do something and then find out that, oh, I can't do it anyway. I'm prohibited from entering into that. So you might want to double check that. It's critical. These two guys that I worked with, the second thing that they wanted to go into was a boutique clothing store in a mall. And then we did a business plan, and one of them said that they could get knockoff purses, like Gucci purses, really expensive $400 or $500 purses for $12, $15. Yeah, I challenge that. But they wanted to rent space in a mall and sell jewelry and purses and scarves and sunglasses, stuff like that. And so I did a business model with them on the financial piece. I sat down with them and I said, okay, how much is your rent going to be? How many employees will you need? What are the hours that you're going to be open? How much do you have to pay each employee? What's your cost going to be for this, this, and that? What's the cost of your materials? And then I got all that down, and then I said, this is how much you're going to need to sell every single day in order to make enough at those margins on what your cost of your product's going to be that you're going to mark up and resell. And it was virtually impossible for them to even think they could make that many sales. And then I got them into competition, and they had a lot of misnomers about it. So please, if you're listening and you want to go into business for yourself, take it serious, because you do not want to make your situation worse by making a major investment into a business idea that is destined from day one to fail. It's better to see it on paper, like in a business plan, and to realize it might not work. But don't give up on your idea. Just keep focusing it. And then once you get into it, modify it. Jessica, what else might you want to add to that?
Yeah, I was just one thing saying, like you were saying, just be real with yourself sometimes. Like even in situations like that, it might be something that you really want to do, but, like the example you just gave, it just may not be possible. It just may not be the right time. You may not, mentally be in a space to do certain things. But like you said, that doesn't mean that you need to give up and never try again. But you just sometimes have to be real with yourself. And then even going back to, you're talking about the business plan. Make sure that the vision isn't artificial and that it's someone else's vision. It needs to be your vision. So, again, it's really, like I said, it's great if you can do your own. If you need help, you need help. But if you can do your own, that's even better. But always make sure, no matter what, that it's your vision. Because if you just come out with a plan that you didn't write, you didn't read, you didn't make up, how are you going to make effective decisions that go right along with that plan? Right. So, again, make sure it's your own vision and make sure that you're always realistic with yourself.
I agree with that. In my book on personal finance and small business ownership, that if you contact me, I'll make sure you get a PDF copy of it. I say that when I'm helping people go start their own business, the first 5% of the effort that we expend is going to be to determine the owner's needs. You have to go into business knowing what you need out of the business. And the second thing is 10% of the time is spent identifying the overhead and getting your budget done for all of your overheads. And then 10% more is spent studying whatever your products are that you're going to either resell or produce, and figure out what your direct cost percentage is that goes into every single thing that you're going to be doing. And then 75% of all successful businesses is doing your marketing plan and getting what you have to do laid out to reach your sales goals. So once again, if you didn't pick up anything from this exercise, sales is everything in business once you get up and running. You can have the best laid plans and have just the most beautiful equipment and everything else, but if you don't reach your sales, you're going to fail. Hey, Jessica, I'd like to read something that I pulled out of my files today. And so what I'd like to do is two things. I've got a business plan template that for anybody that's serious that really wants to learn how to do a business plan, contact me and I'll give you the plan, the step-by-step business plan workbook that I talked about. But I have another one here. And I found this one years ago. It's kind of odd. It's a business plan template. And listen to this. This title is kind of weird. It's a small-scale logging operation with minimal equipment. And it was prepared for a community college in Maine. And it was, it's a U.S. forestry type thing. But I came across this, and it is as good a instructional manual. Let me give you the website on that. It's www.mlep.org. And if you go there and if you just Google this, it's the easiest way to do it. Google business plan template, small scale logging operation with minimal equipment. And then they have several ones up there, but I think this is template number 4. And just on the very front of it,